we're going to be talking about a couple main points and our points of views on the Freedom Summit, poverty simulation, and some past lectures. So I'm going to begin by asking a first question, which is about part A. It's about the social determinants. And I wanted to talk about, Kaylee, wasn't the person that you played had a disability, correct? In the poverty simulation?
Yes.
Okay, how did you navigate that and how did that make you feel?
So to preface, I was a 57-year-old mother-in-law who suffered from a stroke and had half paralysis. I'm gonna be honest, throughout the simulation I kind of ignored that factor because I felt like if I just sat there I wasn't doing enough to like help my family get the money and the transportation that they needed. But thinking about a person in real life, the mental challenges that could bring of feeling like you're not good enough because you're not doing enough for your family. But then there are also some factors that like could help someone navigate those mental challenges, like planning the meals for the week, helping with budgeting for the week, supervising the kids at home, making phone calls and any appointments that need to be made. So there are ways that someone in the real world could, navigate that health condition, but for me, I just completely ignored it because I'm the type of person that like I want to help, and when I can still walk and I can still move around like a healthy human being, I don't just want to sit out of that simulation and do nothing, so.
I was going to say, as much as you are so entirely motivated to be productive for like your family during the simulation, do you think that there are some individuals that disability or those chronic health conditions that just make them feel lazy and they just don't feel the need to provide for their family at that point?
Yeah, I think so, but I also think that a lot of people that live in poverty and may have that condition think that there's nothing they can be doing. So they also, like, on the other aspect, don't care to be lazy. Like, they're fine with it because they have it in their heads that, oh, I don't have to do anything because I have this illness. So I guess it could go both ways. Being lazy, they could feel lazy, or they could also like not care that they're being lazy,
Yeah.
which can also lead to more health problems. So
Completely.
yeah.
Adding on to that, I think there was another family that had someone that was disabled and he couldn't really contribute to the family much, so one of the children ended up
That was my family.
Was it?
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
Dropping out of school, right?
Yeah, so like I was a 7-year-old boy, and then he was a 9-year-old girl, and he actually had to take care of my grandpa because he was disabled. So he only came to school in the first week, but my grandpa had to go to the bank and turn in a disability check to get money off of that for our family. So he wasn't able to go anywhere by himself. So she had to go with him everywhere. So she ended up skipping school. Like I was 9 years old, like I was the only one going to school. So yeah, she just had to run a whole bunch of errands with him everywhere, and like we tried to make sure we got everything done for the week while our grandma was running around like crazy going to work and trying to get other things done that he wasn't able to do.
And that's like real life too. Like we were talking about, like sometimes the kids have to drop out of school because there's no way to get them to school, or hey, I need you to get at least a part-time job because we need more money for the family, and which can lead to limited education and so on.
Yeah, and going off of what they said too, like for my family, I didn't have like a family with like anyone who had disabilities or anything, but I was a kid, I was a 16-year-old who was also pregnant. So during our week off of school, I had to like go to the health center and like get my prescriptions and go to all the things I needed to go to, while both my parents were at work and my dad was unemployed, so he was trying to get a job, and it like was all on me kind of to do the house things. So
Could you afford your prescription?
so that was another thing. We also had a car breakdown, so I ended up having to go back to my doctor's appointment later on when my mom got home from work and didn't have the money to get it. She had to bring it to me. So I think that was another thing we really struggled with, affording everything that we needed to afford. So
Yeah, and I was gonna say that even though my group did not have any disabilities or chronic health conditions, something that we all kind of talked about is that when you're from a lower SES group, you usually have limited healthcare, limited education, and that means that you can't really find the resources in the first place. And we saw that firsthand in my family, where again, even though we were technically all healthy-ish, I would say that I dropped out of school and was doing drugs, so I wouldn't say I was the healthiest, but I was still not having any disabilities or chronic health conditions, and we genuinely did not know how to receive any other outside resources, and also we did not have any transportation passes, so we couldn't even get out to go and see the resources. But we had heard from our neighbors that you could go to a certain place and go and receive a little bit of money, a couple of transportation passes, a little bit of a food voucher, and we learned that, and I think in week 3 or week 4, and I was so mad at myself because I'm like, I wish I would have known about that, because we could have had more money, we could have gotten more transportation passes, I could have gotten a job sooner, which I actually was still unemployed as a 17-year-old boy because they said they didn't have any hiring room. And like that's such a reality of trying to do something but almost doing it too late to where you are stuck in that position and you don't know how to get out of it. So I can only imagine what it looks like in a group or a population level, let alone just in my own household during that simulation.
I feel like that can also lead to like, if you live in a neighborhood that, you know, lives in poverty, the lack of accessible transportation, but on the other end, like those communities can try to come together to help each other out in those situations, because all they truly have is one another around you. So like the simulation, Bella multiple times was coming up to me asking me if I had $20 because the mother of your child,
Yes.
the girl you got pregnant, needed money, but then other groups would come up and be like, hey, I need a transportation pass, I need to do this. And so like just realizing that like it's not you're fending for yourself, and like utilizing the people around you during those hard times, I feel like that could help a lot of people that live in poverty.
Definitely.
I'm gonna say, going off what Bella said about living in a low SES community, if you're in a household that does have a disabled family member, you're often gonna have experience a lot of higher financial strain and stress due to having to take care of it.
Yeah, and I think in that case, like with the kids dropping out of school, that can kind of create a cycle further on because they have limited education, which can really like limit their career choices in the future.
Awesome. All right, we move on to the next question. So, talking about factors such as housing, stress, nutrition, impacting public health and welfare of populations.
So I kind of had like a first experience with this a little bit when I went to college. It was in like a rural PA. So there was one grocery store, Walmart, that was the only thing, within like a 25-mile radius, literally nothing else. So it was considered a food desert. So that really like limits people's access to like good quality, like healthy food. It's not really affordable. And then there's like the fast food places, there were like 3 that may be closer to other people's homes, and they may choose that over the going to the grocery store just because it's closer. So
And trying to get to Walmart, like that's that far away, and like you want to eat healthy, but you don't have the time to like constantly be going to Walmart to get the things that you need to make to cook healthy
Yeah,
food.
right.
So time is also a huge factor in that.
Were there any like healthcare centers nearby or hospitals or access to healthcare?
there was not. There was I think the closest hospital was also like 25 minutes away. So you'd still have to drive a good 30 minutes to like the city to get any type of healthcare. So.
I mean, when you were talking about like healthcare access too, families that are trying to manage an illness or disability may face fragmented care, like you said, transportation issues, or potentially gaps in insurance coverage, which can be huge.
Yeah.
That's just adding more stress financially if you don't have the insurance needed.
Also for environmental factors, stress can be a big thing, and that can come from having to take care of the people in your house, to financial instability, to trying to get to the grocery store to get food, and you know, stress can lead to those conditions of hypertension, depression, and then from there you just keep going down and it gets worse.
I would say, going off that route, I basically also use the word cycle, like how Tracy did, where I think it's a cycle of if your housing is run down, if these factors are affecting you, stress is increased, nutrition is limited, okay, then you're having a decrease in your general welfare overall. And especially when you're in a group or population level, right, like in the communities, like how we saw in the poverty simulation, I don't think one group did exceedingly well at all. I think everyone actually tried to get by, and nobody actually did successfully get by 100% of the time. I think, did anyone not buy food one week? Because I know
I didn't buy food the first week and I bought clothes with 10 seconds left of the last week because I forgot. And like we did end, my family did end with extra money and I was like, this is great. Like we have extra transportation passes, we have extra money, like we could go another week.
Yeah.
Not thinking about, we got evicted and had to go to the
Yeah.
homeless shelter for a whole
Yes.
week of the time. So it's
Yes.
like, yeah, we ended good, but it was also 15-minute weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. And going off of that, we also ended up in the homeless shelter at the end. I think it was from week 3 to week 4 with Keely's group as well. But something we actually thought about was the week that we did not buy any food was the week that my 14-year-old sister brought a gun into school and went to jail. But my mother and I, right, because it was just the two of us living in the household at that time, we asked the police officer, he's like, oh, like, do you want to bail her out of jail? We're like, how much money is it? He's like, $40. Well, we have 0 actually, so
that's
we can't
when we
really.
came to
That's when I
ask.
asked Kaylee if I could get my younger sister out of jail. But we asked him, sorry. We asked him, is she receiving a warm bed and meals there? And he said yes. And so we said, we're gonna leave her there because actually she's receiving better care than she would be in our own household. So we decided to leave her there. She missed school for a week, unfortunately, but at the same time, she's honestly getting treated better there and receiving more resources there. And so we struggled for a week. The mom and I agreed, let's just scavenge for food. We'll figure it out ourselves, right? We don't need to go to the grocery store. We can just go buy fast food, hypothetically. But and I feel like that's a really sad reality. And I know that there are some statistics of homeless people purposefully doing something to end themselves up in jail so that they can actually receive a warm bed and warm food. And I think that is so sad and such an issue because we should not be having to go that far in order to get basic human necessities. And I feel like that's something, an area of individuals definitely need to work on more in general. But it just honestly feels like everything's a domino effect, and that whole cycle of just negativity, stress, conditions, comorbidities. Obviously, Kaylee talked a lot about that, right? If you have depression and anxiety, you're more likely to be flustered, you get hypertension, you are obese, possibly. So it's just a whole big cycle that I feel like truly is never ending. And in order to break that cycle, you have to have resources and knowledge and experience. And I feel like nobody in that simulation, let alone in the real world, like really has all 3 of those and can actually utilize them. All right, we're gonna move on to our last question, which is more occupational therapy based, and that's gonna be providing examples of how we can have a positive impact on others.
I was gonna say, going back to like education in a school example, you could teach a child with cerebral palsy how to adapt using utensils for eating. You can customize their seating for posture, and then this builds self-sufficiency. It can improve their nutrition and energy, as well as foster dignity and confidence.
So going back to like the poverty simulation that we talked about, and I think it was Bella's family that didn't even know about like the resources around them. I think OTs can also help advocate for like community resources and giving them information that they need for what they're struggling with and just how to get help.
I had a similar point to that. I think that OTs can like recognize certain signs or like, you know, a patient asking for help or something. And you can help lead them to different resources and guide them to help that they might need.
I also said a very similar thing to both of you. I said that OTs could possibly hold free clinics or like drives where they give out resources and education to individuals. And additionally, it's more of like a get back on your feet, where to go for help. And I also said that acknowledging the issue and getting deep in to find the root causes will help make solutions and game plans a little bit easier, because maybe there is a way out, right? I mean, I believe there always is a way out, but it's more just finding the root cause and how you can find a solution to that. And I think OTs would be very mindful, because they're very empathetic individuals that just want to help people. I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
That's kind of why we're all here, is we all want to help individuals get better and live a life worth living. And I also just want to make the point that most of the people that are in like these situations, they want everything to work out, but they don't know where to start. So we need to be that first priority of, we need to empower them, support them, and educate them. And I just think that's a really big deal for us in occupational therapy settings.
Off of educating them, I also think like community-based interventions to get someone ready to go interview for a job that maybe they've never done before. And I mean, they could be in their 30s and never interviewed for a job before. So it's like how to teach them to go about that process. So, you know, maybe we can get them to a good place, making a little bit of money to help their family. I mean, it all starts there with simple interventions that like maybe we're like, oh, that's a piece of cake, like why doesn't everyone know how to do that? But like it's the reality, like not everyone knows how to fill out a job application, especially now, like if they're more electronic online, older people like might not know or even have access to the internet to know who's hiring, how to fill out this application to get to the next interview step.
Or if they do find a library where they could go to, that probably costs money, and how are you gonna get to the library in the first place? So it's all these steps that it takes, that you can't just apply for a job. You need to have access, you need to have resources, you need to have education, you need to have transportation. These are all just factors that like not everybody has all of them all the time. So it's really unfortunate, and it hurts my heart, truly.
Yeah, I think too the one thing that stuck out to me at the poverty simulation at the end when we were like, you know, talking about the takeaways of it is like, instead of asking why weren't you here last week, like just a simple thank you goes a long way. And I think that's gonna stick with me for a long time. Like I'm here a week later still talking about it. Like it's just sticking in my brain. Like the simple thank you goes so much further than why weren't you here last week? Because as we've all learned growing up, like you never judge a book by its cover. You're kind to everyone because you don't know what's going on in closed doors. Like you don't know how their life actually is.
And we heard a lot about that during the community summit, I would say, in regards to human trafficking, where you just kind of think, okay, why can't they get out of it? Why can't they just do better? It's not that simple. It's not that simple. And I feel like we all go about our daily lives just thinking that, okay, well, they completely could just stop texting this person, or they could run away, or they could escape. It's not that easy. And I feel like no one really understands that until you're put in that situation. And so, yeah, I feel like, it's rough, and it's just really unfortunate, but the community summit, I feel like, really offered everyone a new perspective on to be more empathetic, to look out for just possible potential issues, and for like a lack of a better term, like red flags in the community, where it's like, okay, I actually think I need to help this person, or I need to do more research to find more resources to help others who I think could be being trafficked, or just maybe in an unsafe situation in general.
I was gonna say, kind of going off what Kaylee said, there's a lot of like stigma and discrimination of people with disabilities, and like as occupational therapists, we can like lessen the stigma, because there are a lot of really intelligent people that have disabilities that get underestimated all the time, and that's just not fair. So we can do something to help promote that, and just help them out overall, because they just get a lot of discrimination.
Yeah, I just say that like none of these things define those people,
Yeah,
and they shouldn't
exactly.
define them. That we are all human at our core, and that we should all be treated as such.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point to end on.
yes. All right.
Good job, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.